complications that can arise from being fed via tube can have diarrhea or constipation, electrolyte imbalance, and then sometimes mechanical complications. This tube feeding is administered via a pump or via a syringe. It's a bolus feed, so some of those methods can have mechanical complications. Now, let's say that someone does not have a functioning gut and they need to have nutrition because they've been NPO or post-surgery for a number of days. Their GI tract is not functioning, and that would be some of the indicators here for parenteral nutrition, which is being fed via vein. Now, TPN, total parenteral nutrition, is when the client is fed via a vein in the neck, clavicle vein, or a larger vein, and we can give them all their nutritional needs via that vein. Now, if someone's on just short-term parenteral nutrition, they might be using a smaller vein, like in the arm, and that wouldn't meet all of their calorie needs, but it would be enough to help them from becoming malnourished. So let's look at those indicators for parenteral nutrition. Obviously, if there's some sort of intestinal obstruction or fistula, and remember that a fistula is an abnormal opening from one organ to another. A paralytic ileus is like a paralyzed portion of the GI tract. So sometimes that happens after a surgery and it'll eventually go away on its own. A condition called short bowel syndrome, someone that's having difficulty with vomiting or diarrhea, severe pancreatitis where we need that GI tract to rest. So remember, one of the functions of the pancreas is to um, um, get the digestive enzymes into the small intestine to help break down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So if we need that pancreas to rest, we might do parenteral nutrition. Bone marrow transplants, someone who's severely malnourished or just overall has intolerance to enteral nutrition. Now, I want to show you a couple pictures on Blackboard that are going to help you understand what this looks like. So we're going to go to our modules and PowerPoints and then to this week's information. So this would be a can of Nepro. This is a renal supplement. You can see it's high protein, low phosphorus, low potassium. So it would be appropriate for somebody on dialysis. Then we have this picture, which is some tube feeding, which would be administered to someone who's unable to meet their calorie needs via oral intake. So they would be fed via that NJ, NG, or ND tube, or they may have a surgically placed feeding tube called a gastrostomy tube or a jejunostomy tube, and that would allow for that formula to be administered. Now I put this picture on here because I wanted to show you an example of something that would be appropriate for someone with diabetes. This is lower carbohydrate. This Isosource, that's just a brand name, but it says 1.5 cals. So instead of 1 calorie per milliliter, it's 1.5 calories per milliliter. And then you have the brand Isosource, and HN means high nitrogen, so high protein. And then this one is a fiber containing tube feeding, so it's high fiber and high protein as well. And then finally, here's a bag of the Nutrin. This is 2.0. So what that means is there's 2 calories per milliliter. So this would be double the amount of calories. So instead of 240 calories in a cup, it would be 480 calories.